All right, Nick, let's talk about the Colorado Buffs. I think this team, there's a lot of noise around this team this offseason, and I don't necessarily think it's been 100% positive. People are calling into question, okay, Shedeur Sanders gone, Travis Hunter's gone. How is this team going to recoup? How is this team going to get better? Because those were, the face, the lifeblood of this organization over the last couple of years. And I think to an extent that was kind of true, but I think that's what happens when you have a team that's just really popular in the media and people don't dig in and dive in and see what's under the hood. And when you look at what's under the hood at Colorado, there's some good stuff in there. And I think Colorado fans are going to love what we have for them today. We'll get into that in just a second. But first, I'm Andrew. That's Nick. And this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, really good stuff under the hood for Colorado. There's a lot to look at here. But first, let's catch people up and see how this momentum has been driving for Colorado. There's been a lot of guys that started to committing to this team, as well as guys in the future who are looking like they're going to commit to them as well. There's been a lot of buzz lately in the past week for the Buffs. Let's jump into the tweets and articles, and we'll talk more about it on the other side. This all from SI.com. It says, with only about 24 hours, the Colorado Buffaloes 2026 recruiting class has doubled both in size and at one position group. Four-star corner Preston Ashley gave his commitment to the Buffs on Tuesday, and then Wednesday they saw fellow corner Marius Williams flip his pledge from Liberty to Colorado. According to rival Sam Spiegelman, Coach Deion Sanders now owns 4 2026 commits with 3-star tight end Gavin Mueller and 3-star edge Damada Pico Jr. preceding Ashley and Williams. So 4 commits there. Now let's see what is on the horizon for Colorado as well. Some good stuff. 5-star wide receiver, love that recruit. Cedarion Morgan will announce his commitment decision on July 2nd, very soon. The Colorado Buffs are gaining steam with the recruiting class of 2026, and Morgan is one of their top targets. This is a guy that's looking like he's going to commit to a Buff, so now we're talking about a 5-star receiver. Then finally, as starting quarterback battle between incoming freshman Julian Lewis and Liberty Flames transfer Caden Salters rolls on. The Colorado Buffs are also thinking about their future at quarterback. It'll require a flip to land the commitment, but the Buffs extended an offer to 2026 quarterback Michael Clayton II earlier this week. Clayton is 4-star prospect who has been committed to Illinois since November, and now there are rumblings that it is looking like he could potentially flip to Colorado. There's some momentum gaining there. So what are we seeing? We're seeing commitments for Colorado. We're seeing pretty much a sure thing in the 5-star Morgan coming to Colorado. We're going to find out on the second what actually happens, but everything is trending in that direction. And now we're looking at a future play as well. There's a lot of momentum building in this 2026 class for the Colorado Buffs. And I think that's really important here. They haven't slowed down despite losing those 2 guys, like I said, in Sanders and Hunter. And now if we go look at an interesting graph here, if we look at their transfer acquisitions and their recruiting acquisitions over the last few years, we're going to see it was not just Hunter and Sanders. There's been a lot of good momentum at Colorado, and they've gotten a lot of quality players despite being low because maybe it's volume of players in the recruiting class. There's a lot of different factors in the rankings that aren't necessarily quality of players. You look from 2022 to 2025, no transfers in 2026 yet, so there's no reason to talk about that. We see Colorado has done a lot of really good stuff in that department. If we look at 2022, we look at the transfer score for 2022, 84 average transfer ranking, recruit score in 2022, 85.6 for their transfers. We go to 2023 for recruits, an 87.16 grade in 2023, 87.68 grade for the transfers. So an increase in both of those for the Buffs. Let's look at 2024. 87.4 when we're looking at their recruits, 0.03. We're looking at the transfers. Then finally, for the last year, 2025, what is going to impact this class? 90.66 for their recruits, 88.91 for the transfers there. they're getting better every single year. You can see there's maybe a little bit of a flat line in the middle from 2023 to 2024, but definitely an increase every single year. They haven't really backed down. And then finally, they've made a decent jump in 2025 as well. I think this team is getting lots of quality players. They're getting a lot of good depth on this team. I think we heard a comment earlier this offseason that Deion Sanders said. He said, this team is not going to be the same without Shedeur Sanders, without Travis Hunter. I think it can be better. I think overall as a team, it is going to be a better unit than we had last year. And if you look at their recruiting grades, the transfer scores, and see how they've climbed through the years, I think it's a no-brainer to see that. If you look into Colorado, something special is going on. They're getting better and better every single year as far as the quality of people they're bringing into this team. And that's why I agree with Deion Sanders. I think this team is going to be better than last year's team. Individual players, maybe they don't have as many superstars, but I think overall the team that they have built is going to be much better this year than it was last year. Here's what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Buffs fans, in the comment section below, talking about this team, who we've built, and what's going on here. Let's talk about this recruiting class. Obviously, Julian Lewis at the top of the recruiting class, quarterback position. Everyone knows that, but he could be the answer. Could be someone else. Who's your favorite young recruit who's coming in this team? Who do you think is going to make the biggest impact? I think there's a lot of great options here. A lot of guys looking good early so far. So let us know in the comment section below. Before it happens, who do you think is going to make the biggest impact to this team through this recruiting class in the comment section below? But nonetheless, Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest trend in this news out of Colorado?
So what happens is that there's always a disconnect. I don't want to say always, but usually there's a disconnect to what people in the media, the ESPNs, the Fox Sports of the world have when it comes to a program and the trajectory of the program. And like what you said, what's actually going on in reality, what's actually going on under the hood. And if you listen to the media for whatever they're now talking about Colorado, which isn't nearly as much, and they've been trying to demise Colorado for the better part of 12 months at this point. They've been saying, oh, this program's on the decline. It's awful. It's terrible. Hunter's is great. In fact, if you listen to a lot of people in the media, they say Hunter didn't deserve the Heisman. Shedeur Sanders overrated. See, he fell in the draft. Yada yada yada. They're really just trying to bury this Colorado program. I think it's because I don't like Coach Prime. I think it's a personal thing. I don't get it from that perspective. He's good for college football. He's good for sports. He's good for really media in general and everything he does. They take a very unique, smart approach at this program there. I think a lot of people should pay attention to that. But the reality is, if you listen to the narrative, it's Colorado's trending in a terrible direction. But the graph you brought up there is the exact opposite. That looks like a healthy program trending in the positive direction, and they're continuing to build off of that momentum. And like you said, based on what people are saying with the Shedeur Sanders going to the NFL, Travis Hunter going to the NFL, that, this was a two-man show. The data doesn't support that. That's what we talk about on this channel all the time. And one of the things we really try and focus on, let's push the narratives aside, guys. Let's push what's going on in terms of what talking heads are saying, what people are posting on social media or whatever. Let's look at what the data is saying. That's what the facts on the ground are saying. What are the coaches saying? What are the players saying? What are the coaches doing? What are people actually really doing when it comes to winning and losing? And when you look at the data for Colorado, it's the sign of a healthy program continuing to be on the upswing. And I think that's what we saw in Colorado, honestly, last season. Because if you look at Shedeur Sanders' numbers, for example, they're still very good, but it wasn't like, even though they obviously had that big jump in wins, suddenly he got, not that he could have gotten so much better, it's not like he suddenly got 10 times better from 2023 to 2024. His numbers actually, in some respects, took a little bit of a dip. But then how do the Colorado Buffs win more games? It's because they got better players, right? They got a better team around them. They got younger players starting to develop. And that trend is going to continue into 2025 and beyond. I think a lot of the guys, Julian Lewis is, for example, the biggest name on that list, will continue to come in, will continue to develop, and we'll see this program continue to build. I think a lot of people get so hung up on Coach Prime, his son, and Travis Hunter, and they just forget that it's like they're so just mind boggled by those guys that they simultaneously forget how much of a team game football is, right? We talk about all these other programs that have a star quarterback. They're like, Caleb Williams at USC is a great example. Like, oh, he's a great player, but it's a team game, right? It's Caleb Williams. He can't do it by itself. And then you switch to Colorado and it's like, well, Shedeur Sanders did it all by himself. They're going to go 1-11 next year. It's like they hold these two simultaneous beliefs that are in total contradiction with each other. And again, I think it's because they have some bias with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. I think it's just what it is. But again, the data, the results, facts on the ground, That is what matters, and those facts point to a strong, healthy program trending in the right direction. Now, look, we still have to see what happens on Saturday. So we have to see how the rest of these recruits, how 2026 goes, what transfers are going to happen, all that kind of stuff, right? There's a lot of things, position battles, player development. There's a lot of things that are actually going to have to happen over the coming weeks and months. And then, of course, we get to the real games and things get live and things should get interesting very quickly to what's going to happen with this Buffs program. But when you just look at the information we have in front of us right now, and that's all we can go off of, you look at these numbers, you look at the chart, you look at everything on the ground, you listen to the reports, the actual real nitty gritty reporting, and you're like, these numbers are good. Program's good. Everything's trending in a great direction, right? Are they going to be a national championship team this year? I don't think the numbers support that, but they're trending closer to contending to eventually becoming a playoff team. Maybe they could be in playoff contention this year if things break right, but I think they're trending to the point where they could get to that level. And that's all Coach Prime ever talked about. Building a program, resetting a program, building that talent pipeline in. That's why the Colorado Buffs hired him in, right? To reinvigorate the program, reinvigorate fundraising, NIL dollars, transfers, recruits. This is how it works, folks. This is how it works in every single program. You go back to when Alabama hired Nick Saban. Now, look, they knew he was a great defensive mind, but did they hire Nick Saban thinking, we're going to hire Saban to be our head coach because we really like how he does zone blitzes? No, of course not. They're like, we want to hire Saban as our head coach because he can bring in dollars, attention, help us with recruiting, and just reset the program, right? And build the program. And that's exactly what Saban did in Alabama. And that's to a lesser extent so far, but the same kind of thought is what Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, has done in Colorado. And it's all about the trend. It's all about the momentum. It's all about the process. Everyone gets focused on one or two headline players, big name guys, because it's easy to talk about because it's hard. It's hard to pull up this chart. It's hard to create the chart that you made here highlighting the trend. It's not easy to do this work. But we do the work. Other great reporters do the work too to highlight, listen, the narrative in the media is wrong. This is a healthy program trending in the right direction. And despite what you hear, Coach Prime deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing in Colorado.
Yeah, Nick, and you know what's not hard though is just to look at the record over the last 3 years for Colorado,
Yeah.
just the wins. And if someone did the basic, due diligence in that aspect, you look 2022 year before Dion got there, they're 1-11. Everyone knows it was a terrible team. 2023, they're 4-8. They win three more games. Now you look 2024, they went 9-4 and they made it to a bowl game. I mean, that's pretty big growth. There's trends. It's going in the right direction. We've seen a lot of momentum for Colorado. Heck, they're 9-4. Do you know how many times in the last 23 years they've won 9 games? Twice. In 2016 they won 10 games. Then in 2002 they won 9 games. So this is a team that really has gotten a lot of momentum under Sanders. This team has gotten a whole lot better. And it's like you said, it's not that Shedeur Sanders all mysteriously got way better and he was, a top tier quarterback. I think he was as good as he always was. He was a pretty good quarterback. He came to this Colorado team the first year they went 4-8. I don't think he got significantly better from year one to year two. I think the team around him got better. He got more talent. Everybody helped and grew. It was more of a team effort than it was, okay, our superstars got better. That's going to carry the team forward. Because how many times, for example, we talk about, guys on obscure teams. One that pops in my head is like Joe Flacco played at Delaware, and how good was Delaware? It was a team that, I think it was good, but a lot of people didn't know the guy that much because it was, a small program. They didn't really, go out and light it up every single year. It wasn't, thousands and thousands of yards being thrown for. I think it's just, small schools don't get noticed. And I think when you see a small school start to get noticed, and I'm not saying Colorado is a small school by any means, but like I said, they won 9 games twice in the last 23 years. They've been kind of off the radar for football powerhouses, so to speak. And when you start to get back on the radar, people can kind of pick and choose if they haven't been looking at the program, diving deep and getting the data and say, hey, it's because of this guy, this one guy, superstar on the team. That's the reason they're so good. The team's not that good. But like you said, if you do the dirty work, if you dig into the data and look what's going on in Colorado, I think there's something really special going on. I think they're getting better as a team. They're trending upwards. And it's not because one or two guys. It's because of everything that's been going on, totality of the circumstances. So you look at the graph, this is a team trending in the right direction.